I want you to think about your last 24 hours. You woke up, you went to work or school or whatever it is you do, you came home, and then what? What did you actually do once you got home? Because for me, for a really long time, the honest answer was I went home, I ate something, and then I just streamed and scrolled and streamed some more until I fell asleep, and I'd wake up the next day and do it all over again. I wasn't even enjoying it half the time. I was just doing it like a reflex or something. But something happened recently that kind of snapped me out of it, and I want to talk about it today in this video because I feel like a lot of you guys are probably in the same loop I was in, and you might not even realize it. So let me set the scene here. My daily routine for probably the last year or so has been wake up, get ready, go to work, or grind through school stuff, whatever it is, come home exhausted, and then just turn my brain off. Which sounds fine, right? You need to decompress, I get it, but the way I was decompressing was just endlessly consuming content. Like, I'd sit down, open Netflix or Hulu, put something on, and then halfway through, I'd also be on my phone, scrolling TikTok at the same time. And then I'd flip over to YouTube, and then back to TikTok. And then maybe I'd check Snapchat for no reason. And before I actually knew it, it was midnight, and I hadn't done a single thing that I wanted to do. And the thing that really gets me looking back is I wasn't choosing any of this intentionally. I wasn't sitting down like, okay, I want to watch this show because it looks really good. I was just opening apps on autopilot basically because I was bored. The second I even felt slightly bored, my thumb would just go to TikTok or YouTube by itself. It was like muscle memory at that point. And I think of a lot of us, especially Gen Z or the younger generations, are in that boat. You finish work, your brain is fried, and instead of actually resting or doing something that fills you back up or that you enjoy, you just numb out on content. And the next day, you feel just as drained, and the cycle just continues forever. I've talked about time, or rather, I've thought about time being your most valuable asset, and I genuinely, personally believe that, but I was living in a way that didn't reflect that at all. I was trading every single evening for content I wasn't even intentionally picking, and that's a problem. So here's what changed and kind of changed my mind. I went on a camping trip over the weekend, and I know that sounds like the most cliche I found myself moment ever, but just hear me out because something genuinely shifted for me. We were out there for a few days completely disconnected. I'm talking no service, no Wi-Fi, nothing. And at first, honestly, I kind of felt a little weird about it, like low-key anxious feeling when you check your phone. That's what I was, or when you can't check your phone, rather. That's what I was feeling. Which, if you've ever felt that, by the way, that alone should tell you something. But once that feeling passed, it was like the greatest epiphany ever. We went on this hike one morning, and I just remember being like fully, completely there. Like I wasn't thinking about what to do when I got back, my to-do list, emails in my head, stressing about the next week, whatever. I was just walking through the trees, listening to the birds, looking at the view, and that was the whole world in that moment. And then we'd go swim in this lake in the afternoon. Very cold, by the way, but it felt incredible. And at night, we'd sit around the fire, make s'mores, just talk and laugh. Simple stuff like that. The kind of stuff that may sound boring to you, especially if you don't camp or whatever it may be. But it felt like everything, and you're really in the moment when I was actually there. But here's the thing that tripped me out. About 2 or 3 days in, I looked in the mirror in the bathroom, and my skin was genuinely clear, like noticeably. And I'm not a dermatologist, but I honestly think it's because my cortisol levels, my stress levels, were basically at zero. I wasn't worrying about school, work, money, future tasks, any of it. I was just living. I was actually present. And my body, I think, physically responded to that. Because your body doesn't lie. If your stress levels are high enough that removing them for 3 days genuinely makes a noticeable difference, that's a sign that something is off in your regular life, and I realized this. I felt more rested, more clear-headed, more myself in those few days than I had in months of regular life. And all I was doing was existing. Hiking, swimming, cooking hot dogs over a fire, just being a person. And then when the trip was over, I came home. And I kid you not, within, I would say, like an hour of being back, I was on TikTok. No conscious decision, no, okay, I'm going to unwind by scrolling TikTok. I just opened it because that's what I do when I'm home. That's what I do when I'm slightly bored, don't know what to do. I open a social media. And I caught myself mid-scroll, and I was like, why am I doing this? I just spent 3 days feeling amazing without any of this. I was in a better mood. I was sleeping better. I felt more present. And the second I walked back through my front door, I defaulted right back to the thing that was making me feel like garbage. So right then and there, I deleted TikTok off my phone, which I've done in the past, but this time I thought it would be different. And it wasn't. I wish I could tell you that was the end of it, that I just freed myself and everything was great, because that's probably what you want to hear. But here's the bad part. Within a couple days, I just found myself finding replacements until eventually I was opening LinkedIn and just scrolling LinkedIn for no reason. Like, I'm not looking for a job. I'm not keeping up with people. I was just scrolling it to scroll it. And by the way, LinkedIn just has a ton of AI slop, so it was bad. And that to me was genuinely eye-opening, because it wasn't about TikTok specifically. It was about the habit of reaching for my phone the second boredom showed up. And boredom had become something to immediately solve, in my mind, to immediately fill, instead of something to just, sit with for a second and process. So here's where I'm at now, and what I'm actually trying to do differently. The first thing I realized is that I need to be more intentional about what I do with my time after work. Because right now the default is honestly nothing. I just exist and react to whatever's pulls at my attention. And that's not living, that's just filling time until you sleep, basically, until the next day. And I've been trying to ask myself a simple question before I open any app. What's the goal here? Am I trying to relax? Am I bored? Am I avoiding doing something? Because I'm bored is, when you really think about it, a really useful feeling. If you sit with it for a second. Boredom is essentially your brain saying, hey, we have capacity, do something with this. And the fact that I, and probably many of you out there, kill it with a screen means we never actually listen to what we actually want. And I've also been thinking a lot about what I actually enjoy, like without streaming content, without scrolling, what do I genuinely like doing? And it's kind of messed up that I had to think about it, but once I did, the answers were actually, right there. I like being outside. I like being around friends and family, having real conversations. I like hiking. I like biking. I like camping, even though I don't do it that much. And none of that stuff is complicated or even expensive. It's just stuff I stopped making time for because I defaulted to the couch and the screen every single evening and weekend. So bring this back to the finance angle too, because this is a life and finance channel. I think it connects more to finance than you'd expect. So a huge part of building wealth and building a good life is understanding opportunity cost. And every hour you spend on something is an hour you're not spending on something else. And I'm not saying here, don't watch TV or don't use social media. I'm saying you have to be intentional about it. You have to choose it on purpose. You have to get what you wanted from it and move on. Do not let the algorithm keep you in a loop that you didn't, consciously want to go into. Time and attention are the most valuable things you have, way more than money, because you can always make more money. You cannot make more time. And I was giving mine away for free every single day to the apps that were specifically designed to keep me there as long as possible. Any social media is designed to keep you on the app as long as possible, because if something's free, you are the product. They're selling to you with ads, with products, with whatever it is. So they want to keep you on the apps. And this camping trip reminded me that life can feel genuinely full and good with almost no inputs. Fresh air, physical movement, real conversation. really being present. That's it. That's the whole formula. And somehow these days we've gotten to a point where most of us have to go off grid for 3 days to even remember that. So I'm not perfect at this. I still catch myself reaching for my phone when I don't need to. I'm still figuring it out. But I think just being more aware of it has already shifted something in my brain. I'm trying to protect my evenings a little more. I'm trying to do at least one thing a day that I actually consciously chose to do, not something the algorithm served me to watch. And if any of this sounds familiar to you, if your daily routine is basically work and then scroll, and you've been feeling kind of flat lately, maybe that's the sign. Maybe this video is a sign. Just maybe try one evening where you don't open any apps after work and just see what you want to do. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Drop a comment if you guys relate to any of this. Seriously curious. I've been thinking about it for the past day or so and wanted to make this video. And yeah, so if you guys are stuck in the same loop and you found something that actually works for you, drop it in the comments. I want to hear it. Other people probably want to hear it. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.